Saoirse and Artwork. So please give them a hand for coming along. So the title, just to kind of like expound on what exactly that means. The first question is for Saoirse. Andrew Fleming's 1996 movie The Craft has been praised not just as a staple of campy teen horror, but as an iconic document of transgressive genderqueer gothicism. Would you agree?
I could talk about The Craft for hours.
This is not actually about that lovely icon of mid-90s film. It's about basically being a DJ, how and why it's important or difficult or interesting, and how it's changed. So maybe kind of the best way to get us started is to ask, how exactly did you get started? Art first or Saoirse?
I started, I think, because we saw DJs on the TV first of all. It was like, you know, from the States. It was all about sort of hip hop stuff and things like that. So we decided we wanted to try and make that ourselves. So we got like MIDI hi-fi systems and put a little screw in with a sock on the end to slow the actual deck down, and had two like. You could
Do you mean like old sort of gramophones?
Yeah, two whole ones. Yeah, and that was how we started, and then it sort of just carried on going from there.
So the things you were saying, they were more from a hip hop. Was this pre kind of house and techno being?
It was like Kraftwerk and stuff as well. So it's all, you know, that whole thing was all the same sort of thing anyway. You know, it was hip hop records, it was Kraftwerk records, it was, you know.
Do you remember where and when you actually had literally were playing two decks at the same time?
Yeah, in the shed at the bottom of our garden.
How did you make that arrangement? Like, how did you set them up? Did you have to Did you know anyone who was also doing it, or did you get you the equipment?
No. I mean, we knew there were sort of like decks about that you could get, and a few years later, you know, a year later or whatever, we got the Sound Lab belt drive turntables, and started learning on them. But then you realise that there's these better ones that are fortune, you know, and you just, once you've had a go on them, that's it. You're like, okay, I understand now, because it's so difficult to learn on anything that's crap. Do you know what I mean? It's so difficult, but it's good because you learn. It's then so easy when you go on to something really good.
Yeah,
so.
It's like resistance training. Then
it is, yeah. I mean, that's the same with everything, with all like equipment and stuff like that. If you start with something that's shit and you really learn it, then when something's a lot easier to use, then it's, you know.
And Saoirse, did your formation involve a shed and socks?
It definitely involved, some DIY stuff. I think I was always really like obsessed with electronic music without even knowing what it was. I think even from the ages of like 8 years old or whatever. But when I was about 14, I was hanging about with like some old lads in the area, and they used to have decks, and I was always just watched them, and I said like I need to get some, and so I did whatever it took to get some. And
did you have like any musical training before this, or any musical, background in your family?
So
or
my mother actually was really into it herself. She used to put on raves and like free parties and stuff like that. And one of the first CDs she ever gave me was Left Field, Leftism, and she was like, "You need to listen to this. This will change your life." Blah blah blah. And I was like, I'm not interested. But but yeah, I think, from a very early age, it was just kind of in the house on all the time. Orbital, Fluke, Chemical Brothers, that kind of thing.
That sounds incredibly exotic.
Yeah.
Only music my dad played in the house was appalling Northern Irish country music. I think I say this every time I do one of these talks, but Northern Ireland has an awful lot of history and stuff that maybe kind of going back, you're kind of scared of talking about or ashamed of, but there's nothing we should be more ashamed of than Northern Irish country music. So it's astonishing that anyone emerges unscarred from that landscape. I mean, was it the same for you? Did you have musical training or background? What were your parents listening to? Or what was your...
My parents were, they were sort of in music. My dad was in a band, and my mum was Mick Jagger's personal secretary throughout the 60s. So,
no way.
Yeah, so we sort of...
Really?
Yeah. So we was always around musicians and producers and stuff like that. And growing up, it was sort of
Uncle Mick.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't see them, but it's like I wasn't born there yet. But yeah, I'm not that old. But yeah, so it was always music. But my dad was a big sort of jazz fan, you know what I mean? So when I started playing in my music and saying, yeah, this is good, he's like, that's shit, hey, rubbish, it's complete. And only when I bought Kraftwerk Tour de France that was the first record that he was like, this is actually really good.
Oh, so he
Yeah, that was a connection. That was the thing between us. So the first record that we both agreed on.
So you both kind of were talking just there about actually how you caught the bug in terms of doing it in a bedroom scenario or a shed. What was then the next step of like, oh, maybe I'm going to do this in front of people, or God forbid even get paid? Or
That's good. God, I never really thought about that when I started to think about actually playing. I mean, I bought a set of decks, like Arthur mentioned, they were belt drives. You used to have to use your finger to like mix make sure the record stayed in time. Actually, when I got 1210s Technics, it was the worst day of my life because I had to start again and learn again, and I just couldn't do it for ages. But but I think maybe when I was about 17, I was pretty much like begging people for a gig and anything I could get. And the first gig I did was in this really nationalistic IRA pub in Dublin called the Parnell Mooney, and I had to stand on a milk crate, and I played to about like 7 people, which were all just my mates. But that you definitely get the bug.
Yeah, it's very underrepresented in the hardcore Republican rave scene.
Yeah, they're the only place that would let you put something like that on, to be honest.
Amazing. Well, they got 7 people in, so I'm sure they did it again. And for you, I mean...
it was just, we were doing parties, like really small ones for 10 or 15 of our mates, and that's kind of like, whenever you start doing it, you want to play records because your mates are your only audience, so you want to play records that your mates like. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because if you start buying records or playing records that your mates don't like, you either got to get some new mates or you got to seriously think about what you're doing, because it should always be about what your friends would dance to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, then is there also the risk of not expanding outwards, of having the train spotting sort of cliquey guys at the back judging you for everything you're playing?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get that everywhere, but I think it's sort of you obviously you're the guy with the decks, you're the guy who's going to have the music to play to his mates. So you've got to you can then say, actually, this is really good, and then you're buying stuff because you go, I can't wait to play them this. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about.
Sharing, really. I mean, when you buy a record and you really love it, you're like, you get so excited thinking about waiting my friend hears this. It's a really exciting feeling. I mean, I still get that every time I buy a record I really love. I'm like, I can't wait to play this out and see the reaction.
I'll take little videos. If I get a really good record, I'll take a video of it and I'll like send a little clip to my mate Dan. The first thing I'm like, check this out, because you can't wait to share it. It's like.
Well, I mean, I wasn't even going to bring it up, but I mean, what about when people rush up in a fit of enthusiasm and say, "What's that tune?" The whole track ID thing. I mean, you don't mind people?
No. I mean, I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I think I've done it to you a couple of times actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, no, I don't mind giving ideas at all. I mean, it's difficult sometimes when people are hitting you up every day on Instagram or whatever.
Post me a USB stick.
Or they're like, what's the tune at 39 minutes on some like clip on YouTube or whatever. Yeah, so sometimes like it's hard to get back to those, but if someone comes up and says, what is this? I'm totally happy to be like, it's blah, you should check out the rest of the label or whatever.
I mean, we used to do it. We used to go to a club and like back in the drum and bass days, and you'd hear something and you'd be like, they're not going to tell you. And it's probably going to take you 3 years to find it, because you go in a shop and you go, that one, and that was the process, But now you just touch Shazam on your phone and you know what it is. It's like that whole thing has gone. But I mean, some of the biggest records that I've ever wanted, it took me 2 years of even finding out what it was before I could even then try and get it. So the hunt for that thing, when you got it,
oh my
you
God.
finally got it.
Can you think of any classic ones that fall into that category? I mean,
there are hundreds
Yeah,
and hundreds.
I mean, if a good record store owner as well, usually, I mean, in Abbey Discs in Dublin, where I used to buy records, and then I started to work there, like, I would go into Billy and I'd be like, the tune that goes, and he'd be like, I know the one, and he'd just pull it out of the back, and it was amazing, but it worked.
well, you do have a beautiful singing voice, though. That is.
I got into the wrong game, I think.
You mentioned record stores, so you both had day jobs in record stores. I mean, how influential was that? Obviously, I mean, it seems like it could be the absolute dream job for a DJ, but I know it could also maybe...
Yeah, massively. It changed my life for sure. Like when I started working in Abbey Disc, I was like into trance and hard house and stuff. I was like 17. And then they had like a really good stock of prog, techno, house. Funky house was massive then as well. And I left that job a completely different taste of music, you know.
Yeah. I mean, was it a supportive scene? Sort of, was it somewhere where you were finding loads of new influences from the people who worked there, or like the punters?
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff they'd have in the shop was like house and prog and stuff like that. It was the days of like Sasha and Digweed when they first, and Tyrant and all that, and then a lot of the DJs that used to come in I was like a fan of, they'd get their bags, they'd have bags put aside for them, and then I'd go to see them and I'd hear what they were playing. I'd be like, oh, I gave them that record, and yeah, just it was really exciting. But definitely completely changed, and it also gave me the first road into, I guess, the scene, you know.
And Dublin has quite a small pool of record stores, so you kind of would get to know.
At that time, maybe two.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
No, it's like 2.5. Yeah. Obviously, you were at Big Apple in Croydon, so I mean that was a massive formative place, not just for you, but for a whole scene. At that point.
It's I think record shops are they were in, especially like small towns like Croydon where we were. It's crap. There's nothing to do. Do you know what I mean? There's no real nightclubs or anything like that. There was a couple of big sort of nightclubs, the huge ones where people wear shirt and shoes and stuff. But there's no scene or anything like that. You have to go up into town if you want to go and see anything. But so the record shop become like this place where people who love music and have to go and buy it. You know, they'll go there and they'll spend all day there. But while you're there, there'll be someone else there, another producer, and you'll be talking to them about making records or something. You know, how do you do this? And it is like a little university for that town, you know, for the music. And all of the people that hung out there more than for an hour a week, the ones that stayed in there, you know, they're all in music now. They're all DJing, you know, every one of them.
I mean, you've spoken before about at length about Scream and Bang are coming in as these 15-year-old kids.
Yep.
With early productions that maybe weren't.
They were terrible. but they were just starting. You know, they had a PlayStation with Music 2000.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah.
And they were making these beats and sort of coming in and saying on a mini disc, "Can I put this on the shop system?" You know. And at first you were like, "Oh, I can wait till no one's in here," and then put it on. But then after a while, they were coming in and putting it on, and there were people in the shop. People were going, "I'll have one of these, please." And as soon as they did, you were like, oh, "Okay, right, yeah."
So there was a steep learning curve, obviously.
Very fast, because they were battling against each other. They were sort of like trying to outdo each other every night. They'd sit up all night and then come in to the shop with their latest thing. And that's the thing about a record shop, is sort of you can test stuff out. You've got all heads there, you know. And it's when they sort of died off, a lot of it, I thought it did a real damage, because there was nowhere for people to. You could have online groups and stuff like that, but it's not the same as hanging out and talking about music all day, you know. So
it was like a Saturday ritual, you know. There would be a queue like around the corner outside on a Saturday, because that's when all the new bits came in, and it was just a place to hang out all day. And it was really sad when Abbey Disc closed down. It's a Starbucks now.
Oh, that's almost too much of a metaphor.
Heartbreaking.
So, I mean, those formative years you would have had there, like you said, you changed, your music taste changed. I mean, for you, was it the same where you went in with one particular approach and you completely had a 180?
I've always made all different types of music, not in DJing, but in sort of production and stuff. I've made everything. Some stuff I don't want to talk about. But being in a record shop, because you've got all those different records coming in, I was buying house and techno stuff and disco and things like that, and then the garage stuff started coming in, and I was like, this is really good, you know what I mean? So then I started making it, and then we started selling it in the shop, and it sort of snowballs. And again, it's that record shop thing. It's like hello. Yeah, just because of all these different influences that are coming in, I might not have gone into a shop, because if you walk in there and say, and he's, you know, the guy says, "What do you want?" And you're like, "Can I have sort of house?" But I want you're probably going to get one kind of thing. But being in a record shop for a long period, something else will come in that you wouldn't have asked for, and you'd be like, "That's fucking brilliant." And then you find new ways of nicking records from different scenes and stuff like that, and using them.
I think it's so important to, like, when you go into a record shop, don't go to one section that you know. Just pick up everything. Like, give yourself a few hours and pick up bits, especially, like, you know, names you don't recognize, and just
Scottish metal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but I
don't think, just never go to like new house releases. Just do that or whatever. You know, also you have to remember that like the way a shop is curated, whoever's doing that may not think that's techno and may not think that's house, may not think that's electro, and also they're just often in the wrong places as well. So just give yourself a couple of hours and go through everything. Really.
And also those category areas are what create the new genres, like the idea that you take two-step and sort of some techno sounds and then put dub over it sounded originally like a mistake, and then it's a whole new genre. But at the start, people might have heard that and said that's it's not good enough. The other thing that it's pretending to be. Coming up, then you had some like sort of smaller gigs. When did it feel like it was something where, for example, you didn't have another job? Did you kick in your day job early on, or where?
I got sacked because I was working for my dad and we were building swimming pools, and I had a job. So I had a radio show on a station called Girls FM in London on a Monday and Tuesday night from 12 until 2 in the morning, and nobody listened. I've never met anyone in the 25 years since I did it that has ever said, that was a good radio show. That was not one person.
What was the name of the station?
Girls FM.
Girls FM.
Yeah, it was like the first house garage, sort of US house garage station in London. It was all drum and bass before then, and then this girls came along, and it was like, I mean, it's like Kenny Hawkes and Luke Solomon, and like there was loads of people on it, and I had the worst set.
Monday and Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday, 12 till 2, and I used to go up there, do that in some shitty tower block, right? Like just horrible, and then have to sleep there on the floor because I was the last one. I turned the rig off, and then and then wake up, get to wherever we were building the swimming pool by 8 o'clock. So I was totally knackered, and I was doing and then I'd work there. And on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'd work in a recording studio as like a tape op, helping out, making tea and stuff like that. So I was completely and utterly shattered. I couldn't do any work. So my mum said to my dad, if you want to do something for him, sack him, because he's going to have to find some way of making music into money.
You're building swimming pools, by the way. Is there a big market for that?
What, in England?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of rich people.
Wowzers. What was the work actually like? So you were literally basically digging a big massive ditch.
Yeah, in the day, and then doing, radio shows, and then doing the studio work, and then doing my own studio. So like my mates come around for 50 quid and I'd engineer for them and stuff like that. So eventually, when he sacked me, I was like, right, I need to do it properly. I need to set up a very small studio and charge people 100 quid for a day, and I'd maybe get one a week or, whatever it was. But
it kept you ticking along.
It was the start, yeah.
I mean, what about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always worked, I still do. I think I also did radio. Radio's probably what, I guess, helped me establish myself. I mean, I've been doing pirate for like 15 years and then moved into like RTE and now I have Rinse and so forth. But there was never a point where I lived in Ibiza for a bit. I did a few seasons out there, and that was the only time I ever just didn't have a job or whatever. But I still have a job now, although I don't work full time anymore. I've never not worked because I've never really. It's changing now, but I've never really seen this thing as a career. It's a passion. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to accept that it's different now.
I mean, paying work is also good though. So
it really is. It's just a security thing, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah, and mind you, obviously the kind of work I do, obviously with RA, whatever. It's if I still worked in a sales job or in like recruitment or something like that, which I used to do, maybe I wouldn't be doing that anymore. Yeah,
I spoke to Mark Rebier, the gas guy on YouTube, and up until 7 months ago, he worked at a call center selling hunting equipment. And he was still doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the time, if you've got that, if you got a day job that grounds you and gives you the mental space to just do your own thing, like you said, as a passion.
Yeah, I think in places like, I was just in San Fran last week, and they were telling me what was really interesting is that like you can't just be an artist there the way you can in like, let's say Berlin or even here. Like it's just the fees aren't big enough, and you can't, if you want to do your art or you want to be a producer or whatever. You have to have a full-time job or you have to leave. So they have a huge migration problem with people. It's really hard to cultivate a scene there because as soon as someone gets established, they just have to leave. So it's really different depending where you are. But like a lot of places, it's not possible to live on a a kind of artist fee unless you're a really big DJ or producer.
I think the thing as well, you got to remember with this. I've done it. I've been making a certain type of music over the years. I've been doing it a long time, and it can be over tomorrow. And it within a matter of weeks, you're going from making money to absolutely nothing, and you go, what the fuck is going on
What do I do now?
There is no security in this job at all. And it's literally, I've done it 3 or 4 times where you've been flying and then it's a couple of months later, the phone's not ringing. And nobody's interested anymore. So that you've got to keep...
You've got to think of the future. Like, I think if you get a bit of money or whatever, I would just invest it or something.
Buy gold. Invest in Scottish metal. I'm trying to popularise it. I've got lots of shares in stuff. If I could drill down into that, I have heard you speak previously about one particular example, which was 2002, after a track you'd done with Daniel Bedingfield.
Yeah.
That you thought, like, you know, money was coming, and then it didn't.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, that was a big record. That, yeah. It was kind of, we were very excited because, you know,
it's number one.
Can you maybe sing it a little bit, just in case people don't
know?
Should we all?
So I was totally expecting, you know, young 20-year-old thinking there's a lot of money coming in. How am I going to spend this? You know, looking at all the car brochures and stuff like that, and then the company goes bust, and you're left with nothing.
Literally, from something that was number one everywhere.
And you're in shit because you've already been spending borrowed money because you think this is coming. So it's full of pitfalls, and it's full of things that you can't even see coming in this game.
And also things seem to be a lot different. If you hear things even from that era, or like the mid-90s, early 90s era, it seemed like there were so many avenues for being paid as a DJ and producer, from remix albums that were like solid ones, like that loads of different territories would be paying in for. Now it seems a lot more opaque with Spotify and YouTube. It doesn't really seem like it pays in the same way.
Really, it's the DJing, and for a lot of producers, that's paying your bills, you know. Yeah.
I don't understand that Spotify, the streaming thing at all. But someone was explaining to me the other day that there's serious money in it now. There's really good money. If you get on someone's list, or someone makes a playlist, a big person plays, then all of a sudden you start to make serious money. So there is something to. I'm not, you know, I haven't really made a lot of records recently, so I'm not worried about it. But for people that are producing, it's not really DJing, but it's like producing. That it's starting to make money, but I'm not sure it's getting to the right places at the moment.
And have you found that with Spotify, or have you?
Well, I mean, I haven't released a record in a few years, but I don't think the kind of music that I make would be racking up any money on Spotify, to be honest.
You don't do sort of like Monday morning chill.
That's
the playlist I keep getting sent all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever you're in that space then where you're playing records, maybe doing a little bit better, kind of playing other places, are you in a position then where you pick and choose gigs, or you just kind of like, are you still like, no, I want to go everywhere, I want to do everything?
No, God, no. Like, I think the second I knew things had changed in regards to something was happening with like my DJ career was when I was able to start saying no, because I think it's so important to be selective now, because, you know, you take one foot in the wrong direction and like other promoters just aren't interested anymore.
Do you mean like you play somewhere that just doesn't fit you, or?
Yeah, I think like you just, you know, you get offered like sometimes you get offered a lot of money, you know, and I've decided that I'm just like, I'm not going to take it if it doesn't feel right musically, because I'll end up doing the gig, I won't enjoy it, the people won't enjoy it, and it doesn't feel good, you know, it feels a bit like disgusting,
a bit grotty.
Yeah, and so I'd rather just be like, you know what, I'd rather just do the shows that I want to do. I know that I'll enjoy it, and hopefully there'll be more longevity in my, you know, future and so forth.
Is that the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, even very recently, I took one gig in Norwich actually, and but it was for 400 people, whatever, and it was a quarter of the money that was the gig that I was offered elsewhere, which was going to be shit, and I knew it'd be awful. But then you still think, I'm going to go and do this one. I'm going to have a better time. Those people are, you know, they're obviously serious about what they do. They've set their own club up, you know. So when they come in, I do look at who else is on the lineup, who have they booked before, you know, what kind of why are they booking me? Do you know what I mean? And what you can judge roughly from that, what the crowd's going to be like, you know. It's no point in you'll just kill yourself really fast.
Makes you question yourself as well.
Yeah.
Do those shit gigs, like you're playing, you can see that everyone's not really feeling it, and you're like, you just feel a bit like, oh, am I doing a bad job? And
as
you
well,
know,
like traveling in a place that itself can be very alienating. Like sitting in a hotel room, like being kind of like separated from, having just played in front of however many hundreds of thousands of people, going from that energy smack down to being in a hotel room waiting to go to the next place.
That's from the dawn of time when with rock bands and everything. But that's why
they got to throw like TVs out the window.
Yeah, that's why it's always drugs get involved, because you've just had the biggest high in the world, and you've walked off, and you're like, we can't end now. We have to keep this buzz going,
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people do drugs and
really
it's
hits you. Yeah.
or whatever, just because you want to. You will go to the after party because you're too hyped to just go and put Coronation Street on and go to sleep. But it's that's one of the things, and it's one of the things that you have to sort of learn how to deal with.
I think it's really also good if you're like a traveling artist to have friends who are aware of this as well, who are also doing the same thing. Like I'm very lucky to have some of my best friends are doing a similar job. So we have a group. It's like, I'm feeling a bit bad today, and kind of support each other. Like always be open with that kind of thing. I think it's important.
I think it's kind of slightly, I wouldn't say easier, but it's more acceptable now to actually say I'm having a
totally
real bad one.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a macho element, even I'm going to party harder, I'm going to do everything, and
still a problem.
Yeah, I think there is that, but it's just, like I've switched now. I'll just say I want soda water and tequila. Now there's a bottle of tequila on the side. They don't know how much. I can still. Hey, cheers. It's if I want to just drink soda water, I can. I can still. And there's no sort of.
We're going to take that one out of the recording as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that with shots sometimes. I'm like,
You have to, because I've been to see DJs that are pissed.
Yeah.
It's fucking rude. I've just paid all that money to come and see. In my mind, I'm going to have this wicked party with you playing the music that I want you to hear. And I turn up and they're pissed. That's fucking rude.
Yeah. Again, it's like you say, how many places would you show up to work and have that happen? But
yeah.
Then, how many times would you go and watch someone work and
they're
not capable of doing it? It's like, if your bus driver was pissed, you wouldn't be that delighted.
No. But that's the thing. But it's sort of... You do see, and you can tell. I can tell. I can tell by listening to someone where they're on the ball or they're drunk, and I don't want to go and peer someone that's drunk. It's useless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of things that have changed, you've been in the game in a while. Was it 1989? You think you were major released your first record?
No,
first
I don't
piece
know.
Of music?
I'm not very good with dates.
Oh. But in that time, a lot of things have changed. Particularly, we're in London. At the moment, do you think the problem with spaces and places to play, is that something which concerns you, or something you think has gone downhill? Or
definitely, London has, yeah, especially the smaller venues, just because it's the classic thing of there's a really cool club, and then people want to buy flats around it because they think this is a cool area. They start everywhere those clubs sort of start. They go into the cheap areas where you can get a basement, cool, like Dalston or wherever, and then people want flats there, and then the first thing they do is buy the flat and get on the phone to the council and say, turn this fucking noise off.
Yeah. But they go there because it's cool.
Yeah, and then all the clubs leave and you're just left with coffee shops, and it's brilliant,
Yeah, it's like they pull up the ladder behind themselves.
Yeah. So that's had a real bad effect. We've lost loads of really good small venues. There's this monster that's opened here, so but it's kind of, which is great, but it's really great. I actually love this place. But
you're right. Where's the middle?
Yeah, there is no. There's the very small ones where people start, the very tiny ones. If you're starting at DJing, you're not going to get a gig here. But you're going to get. You want tiny little venues that you could, for 150, 200, like Plastic Peoples and things like that. That's how music scenes get started. That's how DJs get started. That someone will go on then, I'll give you a chance. You can go on, and then someone rocks it, and they're like, you can do it again. Yeah.
It's also
without that.
The London fee thing as well as makes it impossible to sustain for smaller venues. I think that you just have to be realistic with your agent as well. If it's a venue that's this size, this is the party, this is the price of the ticket, it's not realistic to be asking for certain types of money. And I think in London, because there's the London fee is always a lot higher than anywhere else. Smaller venues, if they want to get a load of artists, there's so much competition, so they need to have some talent there that's actually going to get people in the door a lot of the time.
But is there a place like a Parnell Mooney's for the next year who happens to be in London?
Yeah, I think that really what needs to happen more is, the local scene really needs to be pushed more. I mean, it is happening in London quite a lot, where like local collectives are just putting on really parties, and it's not about the lineup. It's like, that is a sick party, I'm going to go. But there is a lack of places to put on good parties for those size shows, for sure.
I mean, you obviously put on your own the arts house things. I mean, which have the opposite ethos maybe to the sort of super huge kind of venues. Yep. I mean, could you speak about that and how that came about?
It came about because I just wanted to. I'm really selfish. I just want to play by myself. But no, it was more kind of. I can make a party where I want to play what I want to play, and I'll just do it all night long. I don't have to worry about which promoter's going to book me, but it's something that I can do on my own, where I can, I don't have to worry about someone's flights or how much they're going to cost, or whether some other club's going to book them on that night, or who you're up against or anything like that. It's nothing. I do it myself, but it's just something that I've built up because I just like doing that, But I think it's good to do that. I like to go and hear DJs play all night. There's something about it, like the hour and a half sets when you go into a club is mind blowing. You're like, what the hell are you going to do with that?
Especially if it's like a DJ needs 3-4 hours at least,
And 3 or 4 hours, even 3 hours goes like flash now. It's just sort of I like to go and hear people, what they're going to do, how they're going to build it, how they're going to go from nothing when there's 2 people in there. I like to see that and see how are you going to build this whole place up? Because sometimes when you walk in, you haven't heard what's gone on. You don't know what they've been playing for the last 4 hours. So it's the mood of the room. You haven't been in the room.
You have to get
so these DJs just come in and they're just like, I walk in, I'm going to play my set. It doesn't matter. They don't care what's gone on before. So that's the bit that's sort of confusing when you get a lot of DJs on heavy rotation on sort of club nights and stuff.
I mean, didn't you mention building something from the ground up? I mean, wasn't one of the first arts house ones literally in someone's like?
It was in it. Yeah, we just, because we saw on Twitter that everyone was saying, come to our party, come to our party, come to our party. All DJs were saying, I'm playing here. We thought, fuck it, turn its head, and we'll say, we'll come to you. So we did a competition, and we took a bar, a sound system, smoke machines, lasers, everything, and put it in someone's front room in a council house, a terraced council house, on a Tuesday night.
So good.
And Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday night. And
did that clash with your Girls FM show?
No, I'd finished that by the time. Okay. But so I mean, it was mental, but it was funny. Do you know what I mean? It was just a bit of fun.
Know this person, or was it just?
No. They were just a winner off the Twitter. So they were like, yeah, we can have a party at our house. And I said, are you sure it's gonna be all right? Yeah. Oh, the neighbours went fucking mental.
I mean, I'm completely on their side, I think.
Yeah, I am as well. So it sort of shut about 12:30, but it was funny while it lasted.
You mentioned Twitter as well. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. At the moment, obviously, for any DJ who wants to get into learning the craft, I mean, presenting yourself and promoting yourself is obviously a huge part of it. And I think you're both, pretty good examples of people who are a bit more playful or a bit more personal. Like you were saying, an awful lot of DJs, you see that they slowly step back from being themselves and they just become, whether it's them or not tweeting, it's delighted to be here in Vienna. Come and see us. Let's party.
Yeah.
Whereas it's all just bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like reading press release stuff, but you guys have a different tip.
I wouldn't be able to be anything else. I mean, I think sometimes I probably get booked based on like having a laugh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there is that. But I mean, I like to see like people like you and people like, I like to see the personality of the person. I wouldn't want to see Jeff Mills saying, I'm just going down the pub for a bit. Fuck that. I don't want to know. You just put your pictures up. That's cool. Do you know
you
what
want him
that's
to be
who
mystified.
You are. Yeah,
I would love to see that. That feels me like just getting me Sunday roast sweet.
Selfies,
like a 4-hour-long sci-fi podcast.
Yeah. No, but it's about who that person is. If some people it doesn't work for, some people it does. It's just I like to see who the person is. I like that's cool, but some people it doesn't work for. So
yeah, and I think also. Some of it's so calculated or whatever, and it's just like I find that extremely difficult, to be really.
And it actually sometimes takes more effort to be that, just cut yourself off and not have an opinion. Yeah. I suppose most people are playing it safe.
Yeah, definitely 100%. But I mean, I won't. I'll take a lot of stick for if I put something up about Brexit's a load of shit or something. You actually find, because you've written the word and people have retweeted it, then you get loads of people with British flags coming up saying, I want to burn you. I want to bring some petrol to your next gig and set fire to you. That's what one I had.
And it causes for me, I get anxiety thinking about the whole cancel culture as well.
Yeah.
It's look, the way I go on, it's a lot of times taking the piss, but it may offend or it may, and God knows what would be pulled out of the woodwork. You know what I mean? And it's just
frantic
thinking,
delete.
Jesus Christ. I mean, if there was a video of me and him, I got one. I mean, God knows, well, we both probably have no jobs now.
Was there?
No, thank God.
Good, yeah.
Oh, it seems like you both realised what that was.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to give some time for questions, so if anybody could stick their old hands up. I think there's a mic going around. Yep. Chivalry.
You have done so much in your life, from grain techno to D&D to Magnetic Man, and just to allow time for other questions, just give us a concise evolution of your music taste since you were born to your current life, and what is the future for artwork once he's done with house and techno, but it's found some new genre to dive in or something like that.
Are we starting with nursery rhymes? Because I had some bangers. I think it's too long to go into now, because I did I'll do it on Twitter for you. But no, I mean, lots of stuff. I can't even remember half of it. There's a lot. It doesn't really answer the question, does it? At all?
It was an ambitious question.
Oh no! All right, cool. What was it like working on People Just Do Nothing?
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
They're very, very. I mean, they're ridiculously funny people, and they're bored of filming. So all day they're just trying to trip each other up and make each other laugh. Yeah. So they don't. It takes a long time to get any filming, because they'll do whole takes, and then they'll put a little dig into their mate at the end, and they'll go, "Okay, start again." So I was just baffled. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
All right, how you doing? It's just a question about production, really. How do you, sorry, to artwork here.
Oh.
Yeah. How do you go about starting a new track? What influences you?
Clean the studio about 4 times, make 25 cups of tea. Just put it off as long as you can. I've always got something else to do. If it's a new track, I'll always have something else to do. Jobs get done around the house that would never get fucking done, because
the fridge is immaculate.
You just that blank page is always it's just horrifying. But sometimes I'll go and I'll sample something, and then work around it, and then take that sample out. Just to get me started, just to get a groove going or something. Because actually sitting down and doing the first bit is really scary. But there's lots of tricks that you can trick yourself into doing it, like doing an edit of something and then changing it around, and then you think, oh, actually I'll take that bit of that drums and blah blah blah, and then start from there.
Trick yourself into making something new by working scaffolding. Commando style's nice.
Hi. You both talked about actively trying to avoid gigs that you know are going to be shit, and I was just wondering when you find yourself in those positions, by accident, how much are you willing to compromise in the sort of tunes that you play? And if for someone just starting out, how much should I be willing to compromise? Because I feel like sometimes it'd be a lot easier.
That's a good question.
If you play
that is a good question.
Do you find yourself playing naughty's R&B to people to try and?
I mean,
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that. I wouldn't say that far, but I definitely have folders of tunes that I love, but I know they're a lot more accessible. So I think that maybe other people would consider it compromising, but I'd never play something I don't like. But there's definitely a load of music that I can play easily that I know people are going to be so I guess it's really how you define compromising, you know what I mean? Yeah, but there's never going to be a point being I fucking hate playing this. I'd never do that.
And you have to judge the crowd, I presume.
I mean, the thing is, you've been paid to go and make those people have a good time.
Yeah.
So if you turn up and you're like, okay, it's a mistake by yourself or your agent or whatever. They put you in the wrong place, or the promoters told a few tales or whatever, and you end off and you're like, these people are not going to get what I want to play. For the people that sort of stand there and go, no, I'm going to do it, even if they have a shit time, that's not fair. That's not fair on all those people. That's not their fault. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to have stuff ready And we've all got stuff that you know, it's going to be like they're bangers, you know.
Yeah.
And you might as well just go for it and just give people. That's what your job is, just to make people have a good time, you know.
There's a version of that set that you will enjoy because there's a
Yeah.
billion
I also
tunes.
think that's really dependent on the person you are. I think like me and Arthur, we play a lot of different stuff. I don't know, if you're like Donato Dozzi or whatever, I'm not expecting him to turn up and start playing like Spice Girls.
The Macarena.
Yeah. That is a tune, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, we're done.
Well, I think we're done for questions. Apologies if you didn't get your question answered. Thank you so much for coming out, and please give a warm thanks to Saoirse and Artwork. Thanks very much.